What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna try something a little different. I've decided for a very good reason, I'm no longer gonna cover comics on this channel that I don't enjoy. It makes for a less than interesting video for the people who are watching, not to mention as a person who is a creative himself and someone who does actually have aspirations of being in the comics industry, I don't really like trashing other creators. I don't like saying negative things about other writers, other artists in this business because honestly, that kind of stuff will come back to bite you. And it's great for people who aren't in the industry, but I don't think people who are in the industry or want to be in the industry should burn more bridges than they have to. Even though I'm a person who believes in the saying, may the bridges I burn light the way, I don't want to burn that one. So that said, we are only going to be covering the X books I'm actively reading and the ones I care about. If something interesting comes up from another comic, another X comic that I'm not covering, and those are namely going to be Excalibur and New Mutants and maybe other ones to come, I'll bring it up, but I'm not gonna do or waste time doing full breakdowns of comics I just don't care about. So we're gonna be talking about X-Men #6 by Jonathan Hickman and Matteo Buffagni. We are finally going to address a couple of questions that were posed during House of X and Powers of 10, specifically about how long it's gonna take before Mystique finally realizes she's not gonna get what she wants, and more importantly, what Dr. Gregor is doing on the Orcus Forge and how it actually goes against everything Charles Xavier and Magneto thought they knew about Orcus and the future of mutant kind. We're gonna talk about all that and more right now, but first, let's hit that intro.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple eyes. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Before we get started, if you want to see more awesome comic book videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click.
This issue of X-Men really does a good job of bringing everything from House of X and Powers of 10 together. Yes, it does a fantastic job because these are questions that we originally asked. These are questions we originally had during House of X and Powers of 10 where we were wondering like, dude, what is up with Mystique? Why would Mystique do some of the things that she's done, like case in point, the Orcus Forge? Why was it that Mystique just seemed lost on the Orcus Forge? She seemed very uncharacteristically inept in that situation, and now we know exactly why, because this comic actually takes us back to a scene from Powers of 10 #1 where Mystique is meeting with Magneto and Charles about another favor that they need from her, how she went into damage control and got the information they needed about the Orcus Forge. Well, now they needed more, and of course that is for her to go on the clandestine mission with Cyclops and company to take out the mother mold that they had in the Orcus Forge, but it actually went deeper than that. Now remember, Cyclops said something very specific to his team about not bringing Krakoan flowers on that mission, and more importantly, even kind of specifically looked at Mystique when he said it. That said, I remember going back to that video, I specifically pointed out that I believe she brought a flower with her. Now we have confirmation that was in fact the case, and she didn't do it for her own personal ends. She did it at the order of Magneto and Charles Xavier. This also kind of explains why she seemed to have been kind of putzing around on the Orcus Forge. It wasn't because she got lost. She actually took the time to go into the greenhouse of the Orcus Forge and plant the flower that they needed. They needed to create a gateway on the Orcus Forge so that if in the future they needed to return there for whatever reason, they could do so. But the problem is when Mystique planted the flower on the Orcus Forge, which she did successfully do, the trouble lies in the fact that because of the resurrection protocols and them being so far beyond Cerebro's reach, Mystique's memories and everything that she knows can only go so far. She has no memory of actually planting the flower. And Charles and Magneto, they're pretty sure because Mystique is capable, she is more than capable, she's proven this throughout the years, they assume she very likely did it, but they need to know for sure. So they send her back through the Krakoan gateway. Now, the thing you're probably asking is, well, what if she didn't plant the flower? Will she just fall into space? Will she just die in nothingness? Is there a trap waiting for her? Well, the good news is, if the flower is destroyed, then she'll just walk through the gate, no different than Franklin Richards did in X-Men Fantastic Four #1, even though it'll be for completely different reasons. However, she could also be walking into a trap. But as it turns out, when she goes through the gate, we learn that, yeah, it worked. The flower has been left unbothered. Now, this whole thing begs a whole lot of questions because, I mean, the main thing for me is that typically the Krakoan gateways, they usually tend to be pretty grandiose. You'd think Orcus would notice a flower gateway on their ship, but apparently this was one of those stealth flowers. So, yeah, we don't really see the gateway on the other side, but we do see that Mystique turns herself into one of the Orcus techs. And when she goes through, she actually stumbles in on some very interesting information, you see, because at this particular point in time, Director Devo, he has put together something very special that Gregor needs to finish her little pet project. And now we see this earlier in the book before we know this is actually Mystique, but we later on find out, yes, this is in fact Mystique, who Omega Sentinel hands the device over to that is supposed to go to Dr. Gregor. And we also know for a fact that Mystique actually does give Gregor the device that she was handed. The thing that we find very troubling about this is that apparently when Mystique walks in on Gregor working in her lab, what she's working on is a whole ass Nimrod. And this just isn't me pontificating or hypothesizing this. This is something Mystique says herself to Charles, that yes, in fact, they were wrong. The key to the creation of Nimrods was not tied to Mother Mold. Apparently, something has happened. Something has changed. Now, either A, it was true that Nimrod would be created by Mother Mold, or B, Charles got it wrong, or C, maybe both were right. Because we know in situations like these, time always wants to happen. The thing that's heartbreaking here, and this is something we learned from House of X, I believe this came up in House of X #6. We kind of always known that Destiny, the one thing on Earth that Mystique wanted more than anything else, is her wife back. Destiny, the mutant who could see the future. The same one who killed Mora and kind of set Mora straight on what all is going on with her life and how she reincarnates. Charles, Magneto, and Mora, they all know that if they have someone, a mutant who can see the future on the island, someone's gonna figure out what they're up to and maybe be able to find out if everything is not gonna work out in the end at all. And that's just something that would go against the dream. It would actually make it harder for them to achieve their dream and keep all of this going if some mutant who can see the future could just look forward and say, hey, this isn't gonna work out in the end. Which honestly kind of seems like maybe you would want that. But since this is technically Mora's potentially last life, this is one of those situations where they don't want to take that leap of faith. And that's what Mystique wants. She wants Destiny back. And we now know that apparently Destiny warned Mystique about this. We bookend this issue with Destiny sitting Mystique down and preparing her for the future. So this entire time, Mystique knew Krakoa was coming. She knew that Charles Xavier and Magneto were going to create this mythic mutant island, and everything was going to seem like a paradise, but deep down, she knew because of Destiny that it was all a lie and that they were going to deny her getting the one thing that she wants back. And Mystique right now has been biding her time because Destiny has warned her all of this is going to happen, and right now she is simply sitting back and waiting for her moment to strike because she has now been told pretty much in no uncertain terms that they are not going to give her what she wants, because every time she jumps through a hoop, Charles and Magneto, they change the stakes. The second Mystique starts keeping pace, they change up the tempo. They're constantly moving the goalposts. So no matter what she does, she's starting to realize they're not going to give her what she wants. And Destiny has already told her if they refuse to give her what she wants, to remember these words, bring me back. And she has told her that if they will not let her, if she is not allowed to, then burn Krakoa to the ground. Now, here is something I think is very important about this. And the thing you have to understand about Destiny's powers, we do know, yes, she can see the future. Depending on how far into the future she is seeing, the accuracy of her predictions tends to dwindle the further ahead. So she was able to see far enough into the future that she was able to see that all of this was going to happen. She knew all this was going to be a thing. She knew they were not going to let them bring her back. Though, once again, she didn't really know everything surrounding those situations. So it does make me wonder if there's a little bit of inaccuracy there, but so far, Destiny has been spot on about everything. It does make me wonder, what is Mystique's next move? Because if Mystique is going to burn Krakoa to the ground, part of me has a sneaky suspicion, because we've all talked about Sabretooth, and you all know Mystique, Sabretooth, they have history. And even though technically she was one of the people who voted for him to be exiled, something tells me before she burns Krakoa down to cinders, I think she's going to unleash Sabretooth to help her get the job done. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff to unpack in this issue, and that's really the only thing I'm focusing on right now. But let me know what you think about X-Men #6 by Jonathan Hickman and Matteo Buffagni. And do you think Mystique is gonna pull a Seth Rollins and burn it down? Sound off in the comments. So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in $1, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerd901.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus Ultra!